In this video, I'll uncover the best foods to eat in order to improve your brain health. Through the choices you make every single day, you're either improving your brain health or destroying your brain health. And a lot of people really don't know what foods that they need to eat in order to drastically improve brain function. So that's why in this video, what we're going to discover is brain foods for brain health. How to improve brain function with everyday foods. We're going to talk about the foods that you can easily get, bring into your home, and eat on a regular basis in order to drastically improve your brain health. So stick around to the end. I'm Dr. Zarowski, and welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, and join our notification community. That way I can help you excel your health and your life. Let's go ahead and dive right into this video here. Now, a couple things I want to do first is talk about some interesting brain facts, okay? When we look at the brain, many people just have no understanding of it, and most people don't even consider their brain health on a daily basis, right? I mean, people are considering things like their weight, how much muscle's on their body, and that kind of thing, but they don't ever take into consideration what they're doing on a daily basis in order to improve brain health. Let's talk about a couple interesting statistics. First of all, your brain weighs 3 pounds. It's comprised of 60% fat. Well, that's a whole lot of fat. That's actually one of the fattiest organs in the body. And it's really interesting because, when we look at this big attack on eating fats, eating healthy fats by much of the major health organizations out there, how do you think that's going to go for your neurological health, your brain health, if you cut out all that fat when your brain is comprised of 60% plus fat? Interesting thing to think about there. There are 100 billion neurons within the brain. These are basically the nerve cells, the cells within the brain. The brain uses 20% of the oxygen in blood from the body, okay? So your whole body is using the other 80%, brain's using 20% alone. 100,000 miles plus of blood vessels within the brain, which is truly incredible. And what they had found in studies is that size of your brain doesn't matter. If you have a small brain, big brain, it didn't matter in the studies. You weren't any more intelligent just because you had a bigger brain. So this is some of the cool things about brain health that, is really interesting to think about. Some of the things that aren't so cool about brain health is that many people are struggling today. We actually today probably have more neurological issues going on in society than ever before. 40 million people suffer from anxiety and depression. And I can tell you, when people suffer from anxiety and depression, it's not something they choose, right? It's something that they wake up with and then it's just ruining their day. And in many cases, it ruins their lives. So this is a very serious thing. 5.5 million people suffer from Alzheimer's, dementia, right? Now, this is something that is, totally alarming. If you've ever had somebody who has suffered from Alzheimer's, you know how devastating this is. If you even have it running in your family, it's something you really want to think about. If maybe your grandparents had it or your parents had it, this is something that's very serious because let me tell you, it's a terrible thing to watch people go through. And then also, 1 in 59 kids suffer from autism spectrum disorder, okay? Once again, these are brain problems, these are neurological problems. And then 1 billion people, 1 in 6 people worldwide suffer from neurological diseases, okay? Whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's dementia, whether it's autism, whether it's, any of these different psychiatric disorders out there, so many people are suffering from. It's a major issue. And this is actually one of the reasons that I put a lot of effort as of lately into helping people improve brain function. We've come up with a whole bunch of nutritional formulas in order to really boost brain function, help decrease inflammation. I'll put a link in the description below so you can check those out. It's something I've put an enormous amount of effort and research into. Really check that out. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the foods, okay? Because like I said, the foods are something that you want to incorporate in your daily routine, right? We can talk about nutritionals, taking supplements, those types of things, but the daily foods are going to be something that are highly beneficial if you want to improve brain health. Smash fish is number 1 on our list here, okay? We're going to have 8 different foods that we're going to talk about in this list here. Smash fish. And what that stands for is salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardine, and herring. Now, why would you want to use these particular fish? First of all, they're typically lower in mercury, so it's something that there's going to be less toxicity within them. And this is a whole nother discussion when we talk about toxicity in brain health because, when we look at fish, it's typically high in mercury. Mercury has an affinity for storing itself in nervous system tissue, and when it does that, it causes many neurological symptoms, such as Mad Hatter's disease, right? So we want to make sure that we're not getting that mercury in. And like I said, if you want to learn more about detox, stick around to the end. I'll give you some pointers on it. And so when we look at these fish, they're really great because they're loaded with omega-3s, loaded with DHA, a lot of good quality fats that have a lot of benefits for the brain. Let's talk about the benefits. The fats are going to be components of the brain cell cell membranes. They're going to help improve the neuronal health. It's going to protect against depression, which is really powerful. Basically, there's studies out there that showed like if you took omega-3s, DHA, it actually helps decrease your risk of depression and helps fight against it. It's also going to help boost memory and also slows mental decline, okay? Now, the boost memory is really interesting because I've had so many people who say like they started taking, a supplementation of omega-3s, DHA, or people who just started eating a lot more fish in their diet, and they're like, man, my memory is so much sharper than it used to be. So it's always cool where people can actually see that. And I've been there, and if you've heard my story about some of the brain issues I went through, you're definitely going to, see why I'm very passionate about this topic. Now, next here is eggs, okay? Eggs is something that's very, very important for brain health because it offers a lot. There's choline, which is incredibly important for brain health. You're gonna have a lot of choline in eggs. You're also gonna have vitamins B6, 12, and folate, which are important as well. This participates in the methylation process in the body. And basically what was found in the research is that if somebody had decreased amounts of B6, B12, and folate, they also had an increased risk of things like dementia and Alzheimer's. Now, also loaded with antioxidants, which are very important. The antioxidants are going to stop the oxidative damage occurring on the brain. And this is important because the brain being made of fat is very prone to oxidative damage. So eggs are also going to be high in fat, lots of good protein, about 77 calories per egg, okay? And so anyway, when we look at the eggs, very, very good as far as the overall nutrition goes. What are some of the benefits it offers you? Better memory, better mental function, decreased risk of depression, and also decreased risk of memory decline because of these amazing brain boosting nutrients that it has in it. Let's talk about coffee, okay? I was recently just talking about coffee on my Instagram, and it's really interesting because, coffee is something that offers some pretty cool benefits. Lots of antioxidants in it, and then the caffeine in it really has a brain stimulating effect. It improves mental performance, cognitive performance, mental alertness, and so a lot of people, will utilize coffee in order to get that benefit. One of the things I was talking about on my Instagram is how I actually will take coffee and, I intermittent fast every day, but I'll take coffee and I'll use it strategically when I have something that's really going to make me have to focus, something that's really going to take a lot of mental power, brain power. So I'll utilize coffee strategically in order to get that mental alertness and cognitive performance during that time. So, maybe if you're a student, you use it during a test, or if you're someone who is going into the workplace, use it for a meeting in order to actually boost mental performance. What are some of the benefits? Mental alertness, improved mood, okay? Decreased risk of dementia and decreased risk of Parkinson's, which is really powerful, okay? Lots of good antioxidants in coffee. Let's talk about chocolate. Now, when it comes to chocolate, this isn't something I typically have to convince people that they should eat. They're like, yes, thank you. And, this presentation was amazing now. So anyway, when we look at chocolate, there's a few things in the nutrition. First of all, it's loaded with antioxidants. It also has a little caffeine in it, and then it also has flavonoids. Now, the flavonoids are a specific type of antioxidant that have a lot of benefits to the brain. Let's talk about what are the benefits. It's going to enhance learning and memory. It's going to slow down age-related decline, and also it's a mood booster. Now, when we look at the chocolate in general, one of the things about it is that we aren't going to run out and grab a Hershey's chocolate bar or something of that nature, right? We want to get a good quality chocolate. And this is going to be an organic chocolate, a chocolate that does not have a bunch of sugar in it, okay? Because sugar is not good for the brain. That actually is a neurodegenerative food there, so we don't want to have sugar. So we want to make sure that we're making good choices when it comes to our chocolate. Blueberries here. So blueberry nutrition. So blueberries are considered one of the best berries out there when it comes to boosting your overall health because they're one of the most nutrient-dense berries out there. They're loaded with antioxidants, contain anthocyanins, which are a very specific type of antioxidant that has many brain benefits, and it also reduces DNA damage, okay? Increasing your blueberry intake is going to be a positive thing for your entire body, not just your brain. So what are the benefits? It's going to reduce oxidative damage, right? Because there's a lot of antioxidants within it. Benefits aging neurons, okay? So as you age, you're going to want to make sure you're adding in those blueberries to help those neurons. Supports neuronal communication. So as you're thinking, as your brain is basically connecting the dots, so to speak, it's going to support that. Increased plasticity and also anti-inflammatory, which is all incredibly important. When we look at the brain in general, when we look at how many people are suffering from brain inflammation, it's devastating. And what I have found is that when you decrease brain inflammation, you can decrease so many brain disorders. I mean, somebody who's fighting depression, you decrease brain inflammation, all of a sudden they get better. You have someone who has anxiety, somebody who has all kinds of neurological symptoms. Decrease brain inflammation, support the brain with brain nutrition, and let me tell you, amazing things start to happen. Let's talk about cruciferous vegetables. Now, you've probably heard about these bitter vegetables that are pretty much good for everything in the body. They're also good for the brain. So some of the vegetable nutrition here, loaded with antioxidants, they're nutrient dense. They also have lots of phytonutrients in them, and then also reduce the risk of cancer. Let's talk about some examples. So cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kale, broccoli, radishes, turnips, it's typically your bitter vegetables. Like I said, they are very, very powerful because they offer benefits to not only the brain, but the entire body. You want to make sure that you're getting in lots of cruciferous vegetables on a daily basis because of the amazing benefits that they have. So don't skip on your veggies there. Let's talk about olive oil now. Now, olive oil is something that most people have in their house. It's almost something people are using daily. One of the things I want to tell you about olive oil is that it's not something that you really want to cook with, because once you actually heat it to a high temperature, it destabilizes it. So we want to make sure that if we're using olive oil, we're using it raw. We're putting it on a salad. We're using it as a finishing oil, but we're not heating it to a high temperature and not turning it rancid. Let's talk about some of the olive oil nutrition. First of all, olive oil is rich in healthy fats. It has 14% saturated fat, 11% polyunsaturated fat, and 73% monounsaturated fat. Now that monounsaturated fat is going to be the oleic acid, which has so many different benefits to it, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, the whole deal, and is loaded with antioxidants. Let's talk about some of the benefits it has to your brain. So it's going to help reduce inflammation. It's going to fight against Alzheimer's disease, decrease amyloid plaque buildup. Now, when we talk about these neurodegenerative conditions, we're talking about amyloid plaque building up in the brain. It actually can reduce the amyloid plaque buildup and prevent it. Anti-cancer properties, improves learning capability, and also improves memory. So olive oil is really, really great. Like I said, use it as more of a finishing oil, but don't cook with it. I overheard somebody the other day talking about how it's so healthy to cook with olive oil. You don't want to cook with it. You actually turn a good, healthy oil into a bad fat when you cook it because it denaturizes the fats in it. Let's talk about green tea. And so green tea is really awesome. I mean, lots of benefits. Here's some of the nutrition behind it. Loaded with antioxidants, caffeine, polyphenols, and L-theanine. Now, these polyphenols and L-theanine have a really good protective mechanism that helps protect against neurodegeneration, okay? Some of the benefits of green tea are going to be a little bit like coffee, right? We're going to get that caffeine benefit. We're going to get some mental alertness, but it also is going to go and increase GABA. So GABA is a neurotransmitter that's going to support relaxation. It's also going to help you fall asleep at night, everything. It just helps you relax. Now, when we improve GABA, that's a good thing because many people are deficient in this, okay? Now, also it's going to help improve alpha brain waves, which is also going to promote relaxation, which is powerful. And then, like I said, very powerful in the way of neurodegeneration. So here's some of the different foods that you can utilize in order to improve brain function. Like I said, start sprinkling these in throughout your daily routine, and without a doubt, you're going to notice that your brain just starts working better. Put in the comments below which of these foods that you're using and how they help improve your brain. Now, also be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, because like I said, so many people are suffering from these issues. And then, of course, check out this video over here on brain detoxification. This is important. If you have inflammation in the brain, we want to make sure that we're detoxing it, reducing that inflammation. Check this video out. There's so many people out there who are suffering from neurodegeneration, psychiatric disorders, and the list goes on and on.